A dramatic diplomatic shift may be unfolding in the Middle East. Two of the region's biggest rivals, Iran and Saudi Arabia, appear to be taking fresh steps toward each other, just as the geopolitical map is being redrawn. In a notable sign of easing tensions, the foreign ministers of the two countries have held high-level talks focused on their relationship, on regional developments, and on Iran's ongoing negotiations with Washington. For two nations that spent years as bitter adversaries, fighting proxy wars and trading accusations across the region, even the act of talking openly carries real weight, and the timing, just as Iran emerges from a direct confrontation with the United States and Israel, makes it all the more notable. The contact came in the form of a phone call. During the conversation, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi briefed his Saudi counterpart, Prince Faisal bin Farhan, on the latest developments in Iran's talks with the United States, and on the progress made in implementing understandings already reached. The two also exchanged views on the rapidly evolving situation across the Middle East. It was, on its surface, a routine diplomatic exchange. But given who was talking, and the moment it came in, it was anything but ordinary. Not long ago, the idea of Tehran walking Riyadh through the details of a deal with Washington would have been almost unthinkable. Now it is being presented as a sign of trust. Both sides came away stressing the same priority. Tehran and Riyadh emphasized the need to keep diplomatic channels open, to continue consultations, and to deepen cooperation in the name of regional stability. Officials from both nations said that sustained dialogue and coordinated diplomacy were essential to advancing negotiations and reaching lasting outcomes. Coming after months of conflict and uncertainty, the message was clear. Both capitals see an interest in talking their way through the next phase, rather than drifting back toward confrontation. For Riyadh, a calmer region means a safer environment for its economic ambitions. For Tehran, a friendlier Gulf means fewer fronts to worry about. The incentives, for once, appear to point in the same direction, and the engagement may be about to go much further. According to a diplomat cited by Middle East Eye and AFP, Saudi Arabia is expected to host reconciliation talks between Iran and several Gulf states in the aftermath of the recent conflict. The reported plan is for a regional summit in Riyadh, bringing former adversaries to the same table in an effort to rebuild trust and reduce tensions. If it happens, it would be one of the most striking images of the post-war Middle East, Iran, and its Gulf neighbors meeting in the Saudi capital. The symbolism alone would be powerful. The country once seen as Iran's chief regional rival, now casting itself as the host and convener of reconciliation. Crucially, this track is being kept separate from the negotiations between Tehran and Washington. According to the reporting, the proposed talks would focus exclusively on regional relations, a conversation among the countries of the region themselves. No official date has yet been announced, but the very idea signals something significant, a Middle East that is increasingly trying to manage its own disputes, rather than waiting for outside powers to broker every deal. Driving much of this is Iran's own president. Masoud Pezeshkian has intensified his calls for a new regional security architecture, urging Muslim nations to unite against common threats and to build stronger political and security partnerships. His argument is simple. Regional stability, he says, cannot be imposed from outside. It has to be built by the countries of the region themselves, through cooperation, solidarity, and collective action. It is a vision that places Iran not as an outsider, but at the center of a new regional order, one designed and run by the countries of the region rather than by Washington or any other external power. For Tehran, that framing is as much about influence as it is about peace, and Pezeshkian has been naming names. During a state visit to Pakistan, the Iranian president declared that Iran was extending hands of friendship to countries across the Islamic world, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan. It was a deliberate gesture, a public signal that Tehran wants to turn old rivalries into working partnerships. For a country that has often been framed as isolated, it was an attempt to flip that script entirely, casting Iran as a builder of bridges rather than a source of instability. Whether the Gulf states fully embrace that outreach is another matter, but the invitation was unmistakable. The Iranian president went further still, calling for the creation of a united security front among Muslim nations. Speaking during the visit, Pezeshkian said that peace, stability, sustainable security, and the prosperity of nations in the strategic heart of Asia and the Persian Gulf could only be achieved through frank and honest dialogue, intra-regional cooperation, and interactions based on mutual respect. The planned Riyadh summit, if it goes ahead, could become one of the most significant such initiatives since the Iran-Saudi reconciliation brokered back in 2023. But perhaps the most surprising development is financial, and it may put Saudi Arabia at the very heart of the US-Iran deal. According to geopolitical analyst Pepe Escobar, Riyadh has privately assured Iran that it will receive every dollar owed to it under the agreement, even if political obstacles emerge in Washington. It is a striking claim, and one to frame carefully, because it rests on a single analyst's account rather than official confirmation from any government. Escobar says 2 unnamed sources described a possible Saudi backstop for an initial $12 billion, potentially rising to $24 billion, but no government or independent outlet has confirmed that guarantee. The figures should be treated as one analyst's reporting rather than established fact. But if the account proves accurate, it would mean Riyadh is quietly positioning itself as a financial guarantor of the deal, willing to step in if Washington hesitates or stalls. It would also mark a remarkable shift, a Gulf rival turning into a financial lifeline for Tehran. That matters because the United States has made clear it intends to keep tight control over any money. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said the funds would be overseen by U.S. Treasury officials in the region and directed primarily toward food, medicine, and other humanitarian purchases. Bessent said the first funds would likely move through accounts in Qatar, overseen by a Treasury operation in Doha, with Washington arguing the money will benefit ordinary Iranians, while also flowing back into American agricultural and pharmaceutical industries. But Tehran is already pushing back hard. Iranian officials reject the idea that Washington can dictate how their frozen assets are spent, insisting that any purchases will be made on Iran's own terms. It is the same theme running through everything Iran has said in recent weeks, a refusal to let others control what it sees as its sovereign rights. And it sets up a direct clash between an American vision of oversight and an Iranian insistence on independence. Washington wants to be seen managing the money responsibly. Tehran wants to be seen answering to no one. Between those two positions lies one of the most sensitive fault lines in the entire agreement. And that is where Saudi Arabia's reported role becomes so intriguing. If Riyadh truly is prepared to backstop Iran's payout, it could emerge as the unexpected power broker shaping the future of the deal, a Gulf heavyweight using its wealth and influence to keep the agreement alive. From quiet phone calls to a reported summit and an unconfirmed financial guarantee, the signals appear to point in the same direction. The Middle East may be entering a new chapter, one where old rivals talk, cooperate, and increasingly try to shape their own future. Whether it lasts is another question. But for now, all eyes are on Riyadh. Subscribe to WLA for daily geopolitical analysis.